Hello there, Currency Mavericks. It is April 29th. We have just one more day left to add to our pip count in April, and then we close the books, do the accounting, send out the profit distributions, and then we're on to May. So let's jump into it. In this session, we're going to talk about the news of the day. We're going to go through what happened in all the markets. Then we're going to break down everything from +3 to -3. We're going to take those strongest, pit them against the weakest, and look for our setups.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the Apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
All right, the markets were actually pretty quiet. Let's go through the news of the day. Overnight, we had some news that the Liberal Party won in Canada. And look, I know that for Canadians, this was either good or bad, but the rest of the world and the markets kind of yawned. It was not a big deal. A lot of times when we see elections, we see some consequences in the currencies, and the Liberals were ahead. They were expected to win, and they did win. And so there was no real movement overall. We are still in this tariff optimism phase where, they keep talking about getting deals made. And one of the things they talked about was lowering tariffs on auto parts. So again, the market is getting a little bit more optimistic. But of course, we all know with this administration, we can get something new, a new tweet any second of any day. This morning, we had two reports from the U.S. We had U.S. job openings fall, the JOLTS jobs report, and then we also had a drop in consumer confidence, just showing that the attitude in America is getting a little bit worse towards their economic prosperity. What did that mean in the currency market? Not much. Not much at all. We have seen the dollar firm up a bit. As these tariff worries start to peel away, expect the dollar to rise because remember, when people were worried about the tariffs, the dollar was in free fall. Understand that if a certain set of news made something go down, then if that news reverses, it's likely going to go higher. The dollar and CAD continue to be pretty heavily correlated here. So we've got pretty much the same move. Everything else is just, look at this, 0.15%, 0.13%. This is not a great trading day. We did have some weakness in the Aussie and Kiwi. I had them as overall strong for this week, so I'm hoping this is just a pullback, getting better prices for a nice setup here. We'll take a look at both of these currencies when we get into the charts. The rest of the market, S&P was up 0.5%, the world index 0.5%, crypto up 0.5%, and you can see oil got hit pretty hard. Last weekend, I said that I was much more interested in crypto this week than in Forex. And this was definitely a rest day for crypto. So you can see Bitcoin basically flat, up 0.5%. That is flat in the world of currencies. So where does that take us in the market? This last little green candle has just moved us a little higher. I've been talking about this 5,500. Now again, this 5,500 area. I know that people like to say, 5,500 is a line of resistance. No, it's an area of resistance. It could be all the way up to 5,600. We don't know. We're still in the upper end of this range. I am definitely not ready to call this a breakout, but I do think we're going to get a breakout later this week. We've got a ton of news this week. Wednesday, we have core PCE price index. We have first quarter GDP. We have Apple earnings, Amazon earnings on Thursday. We have Microsoft and Meta earnings on Wednesday. We have the employment report on Friday. These next 3 days, I think there's going to be a very clear move in equities. Either we're going to get a breakout above the 50-day moving average, which is going to be our first sign of maybe this market is going to be bullish. Or we're going to get red candles where we're just back down into the range and that 5,500 held. And guess what? We're back to a more negative to sideways market. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think you can flip a coin and probably be about as accurate as any economist or trader. I'm looking at this as I'm going to wait and see what happens here for the next couple of days. It's going to give me a much better idea on Friday hey, do I want to be net long or net short in all of my trades? Let's take a look at the calendar over the next couple of days here. We've got Australian CPI tonight. So Australian CPI tonight and Chinese manufacturing, all happening at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Look, I think this is a nice little combination. I love when you get a cluster of news events right around that all affect the same currency. This is absolutely going to affect the Aussie the most and the Kiwi as well. So let's say that Australian CPI comes out stronger than expected and Chinese manufacturing comes out stronger than expected. I expect there to be a nice little push in the Aussie and in the Kiwi as well. If they're mixed, if one is good, one is bad, then it's probably going to be a muted result. If they're both bad, then I think Aussie actually is going to have some more downside below. So I do like this setup here tonight with the Aussie. We'll take a look at a lot of Aussie charts. Then tomorrow we have US GDP and we have the core price index. Tomorrow morning, we're going to get lots of news out of the US. Big news here. And then, of course, tomorrow night, that's Bank of Japan, but we've got lots to talk about before then. So I'm just going to focus on these next 24 hours. Let's go ahead and take a look at some charts. The markets are definitely in a rest period. And so that's what I'm really looking at. What is not in a rest period? So you can see Bitcoin here. Bitcoin is in a rest period. At some point, there is going to be some movement. At some point, there's going to be a breakout. We can set alerts up here at 95.6 for potential buys off of a high base breakout. There's no guarantee or no reason to think it's going to happen tonight. There's not a lot of energy tonight, but just think about tomorrow. Tomorrow, we got some energy coming with news out of the US. We've got some news out of probably tariffs. I think that's a much better time to look for a breakout on crypto here. But all the cryptos, you can see that they're just basically hanging out, consolidating. I like crypto still to the upside, but we're definitely in a pause. We had a big wave hit, and then we're just having just the after wave effects, where we're just waiting for the next wave to come. We go down and we take a look at currencies. We can see that the yen is having a little bounce. Big question is this just a bear rally bounce? We don't really have a downtrend on the daily chart. And so I can't say, hey, well, I really want this for a bear rally, meaning I want to be shorting it here. I just don't like it here. The uptrend on the daily chart tells me, you know what, just go look at something else. Dollar, same thing here. We've been really in the same range for almost 3 weeks here. After a big fall, we get consolidation. Until we break out of this consolidation, I'm also not interested in dollar at all. Swiss franc is showing some weakness. I do like Swiss franc short. Here's the problem. It doesn't have a lot of momentum at the moment. I do like this as a short, longer term, but this isn't great price action. We're not seeing a ton of energy being released and big moves. So for me, yes, I like Swiss franc. Yes, I like it short. But it's not telling me to get really excited about it over the next 24 hours. Euro, flat. I mean, and this one's not like consolidating before a big move. This is just totally flat. Totally disinterested in the euro. I come over here to the pound, and this is the first currency pair that looks like it has some momentum at least. We got rising EMAs, rising parabolic SAR. We got an RSI up here above 70, just came down. Look, if you're going to trade, the pound looks like pretty much the only thing we've seen so far that you can trade. Look, I don't love it. If you go to a daily chart, it's not like it's in a great point here. We're running into some overhead resistance. Look at all these long upper shadows here. I don't love it. I just don't love it here. But if you're going to trade, it's pretty much the only thing that has some momentum to it. Here's the CAD. No reason. No reason to think we're going to get some big breakout with some big run over the next couple of days here. CAD's on the shelf. Aussie and Kiwi are the ones that I'm a little bit interested in because we've had some momentum to the upside, and this is really looking like a bull pullback. The daily chart is pretty flat though. So the daily chart's saying pretty flat. We're getting a bull pullback here on the 4-hour chart. you know what? It's okay. It's an okay setup. But remember, there is major news coming out in a couple hours. If that major news is very positive for Aussie, I think Aussie could also be a play to the long side. So I do think Aussie is something to look for as well. And Kiwi, let's take a look at this on the daily chart. Had some nice momentum here over the last 3 weeks. We're having a pullback. If this pullback holds in and turns around, this could be a decent trade as well. But there's nothing on this chart that's telling me it's now. It's here. Get me above the 13 EMA, get me above the parabolic SAR, get this 13 EMA cross moving higher, get the RSI moving up above 50, then we can talk about trading the Kiwi. But until then, there's just nothing there. So this is where we sit. We sit with Aussie Kiwi having some weakness, but again, this is in an uptrend. So they're weakening in an uptrend, which could be bull pullback territory. We have the pound that's looking strong, but it's running right up into overhead resistance on the daily chart. Again, I just don't like those setups. So there's really only one setup I'm interested in for the next 24 hours, maybe two. If crypto breaks out and runs, then I think it's another great trade. If Aussie Kiwi bounce, I think it's also a decent trade. So the question is, what are we going to play the Aussie Kiwi against if we get that good news tonight? Our weakest currency that we looked at, it was the Swiss franc. I'm not saying I love the Swiss franc, but remember, you have to find what is the worst, and right now it's the worst. It's not falling, but it's just the worst. I'm looking at Aussie Swiss franc on the long side. You can see we've been in a big downtrend for a while here. We've lost 13% of value from top to bottom. We've had this bounce. We've got some higher highs. Yes, we're running into some big resistance right in this area, but we're having a pullback. Everything still looks bullish on a 4-hour chart. It looks bullish here. We've got this lower trend line, and it's just hanging out right there on this lower trend line. If we can get a bottom here, right around this 52.63 area, we can get some decent news. This thing might have a move, and it might have a move up to as high as 55. That is 200 pips. That's a huge move. I don't think we get it. We're just not in the market environment where we're going to get a 4% move. That's what that is, a 4% move. And that's just overly optimistic. But I think it could be a decent trade on some decent news. This is really the only trade I'm interested in. The other trade I'd be interested in would be a long in Bitcoin on a breakout. Is there any reason for me to believe that this breakout is going to be happening tonight? No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. So yes, I can throw some alerts out. Yes, I can maybe take a look at it if it breaks out above 95.6. But until that happens, there's nothing telling me that it's happening imminently. So this is just going on a watch list or an alert, and that's about it. Let's wrap this up. We have low volatility. Remember, we have a saying at Maverick, trade the market in front of you. Just be honest and realistic with what it is. Sometimes it's a good market, sometimes it's a bad market. It's not a great market at the moment. Cryptos, they look good, but they're resting. There is likely going to be another run to the upside. When that happens, nobody knows. We just have to be watching and be ready for it. I don't think it's going to be any time in the next 24 hours. Of course, I could be wrong, but there's nothing on the horizon that tells me that the crypto run is going to start somewhere soon. Which means you probably want to be trading less, not more in this current market environment. There's going to be fireworks coming up in the next 3 days. We have so much news in the next 3 days. I don't see any reason to be clicking buttons in the Asian and the European session tonight. Just none whatsoever, unless it's the Aussie trade. To me, that's the only trade that makes sense off that news. Other than that, I think you want to be in cash and waiting for better opportunities. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye, everyone.